Hey, Yinz guys and gals, gather around for a journey like no other. It's time to hop on board the Where Yinz Goin podcast. From the rivers that meet at the point to form downtown Pittsburgh, to the sheer face of Half Dome, to the furthest corners of the globe, Matt will be your compass, your confidant, your companion as we explore the wonders of travel. So sit back, relax on your couch, and let the wanderlust whoosh over Yinz as we discover new horizons and reminisce about old favorites. With Matt by your side, the sky's the limit. Join Matt on the Where Yinz Goin podcast because when it comes to travel, the journey's just getting started. And now, without further ado, let's give a shot for your guide through the highways and byways of travel, your planning partner, the voice of the still city, Matt Schraeder. Hi, Yinz doing? Welcome to the Where Yinz Goin podcast. I'm Matt. I'm your host. Joining me again today is Maureen. Maureen, it's always good to talk to you.
Nice to be back.
We're going to continue her European journey and travel through France. But not just any traveling through France. We're going to talk about Maureen's cruise, a river cruise on AmaWaterways, which is like the epitome of river cruising in the world. They're like the number one best. So just to give you a little bit of perspective, whenever Adventures by Disney does river cruises, they partner with AmaWaterways. So that just says something
Exactly.
right there.
Yep.
Now, we're not going to get too much into the full details about AmaWaterways. If you want some more information about them, go back a while, and we have another podcast that was devoted just to AmaWaterways. Today, we want to spend all of our time talking about Maureen's awesome journey and letting her gush about it. You heard how much she said about Disneyland Paris, so this is going to be, well, I'll let you say Disneyland Paris or AmaWaterways, which was more amazing.
AmaWaterways.
So,
AmaWaterways. Yep.
being better than
By
Disney.
a smidge. So, but still, it was what my entire family said. It was their best trip they've ever had.
And coming from the family of a person who plans travel for a living and has gone on some amazing family vacations in her past, that says something.
It says a lot. Yes, it does.
So, Maureen cruised on the Alma Lyra, and
Hmm.
you know it's an Alma Waterways ship because it starts with Alma for the most part. There are a few exceptions, but pretty much all of them start with
Pretty
Alma.
much all of them. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's maybe like one or two. I know there's at least one that's down. I believe it's the Zimbabwe Queen that does it. But
It
yeah,
might be. Yeah. There's one or two, but they're mostly, if it says Ama, it's going to be Ama something.
yeah. And so Maureen did a 7 night cruise along the Seine River, going from Paris to Normandy and then back. So, just some of the details about the ship that she was on. It holds 140 passengers. There are 71 staterooms, so therefore that makes two of them that are single occupancy. So that's one
And
nice thing.
we only had 100 on our cruise. So we got to know our fellow passengers very, very well.
And that's one of the really nice things that you're going to get on a river cruise that you will not necessarily get on a normal regular ocean cruise because those vessels are so huge that it's impossible to get to know everybody. Although there are a few out there that are smaller ships that you can maybe not get to know them well, but you at least recognize faces. Like if you want to
Right.
go back to last year, whenever I talked to my brother-in-law about my sister and his cruise on Viking and through the Mediterranean, it's like they kind of got to know, oh, yeah, I've seen those people around. I see, you get to recognize faces. But this one, you're almost on a first name basis with everybody.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Now, the nice thing about the staterooms is that they do offer several single occupancy staterooms that do not come with that single surcharge. That often, whenever you're going to travel by yourself, they will charge you. You know, if you're going to stay just in the stateroom by yourself, they charge you an extra little supplement. It's called a single supplement. That's extra money to kind of take compensate for the fact that there's only one person in the room. In this case,
We
though,
actually,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, we actually had, I want to say we had at least 4 or 5 passengers that were solo traveling this time. And they've done it before and they're very comfortable doing that on the smaller ships because they get to know people.
Yeah, and the nice thing with the single occupancy rooms is that there is no single supplement for that. So you're paying just for you. So bonus. Now there are 45 crew, and so whenever Maureen did her, that's like basically a 3-to-1 ratio of passengers to crew. And with what on Maureen's, it was almost like a 2-to-1. That's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah, it was insane. It was pretty cool.
The ships are 360 feet long and they are 38 feet wide. So they're the size of a football field floating down the river. At least the lengthwise, not quite as wide.
Not quite wide, no.
Now with the decks, it's broken into the piano deck, which is the bottom, and that's where there's some staterooms there, but it's mainly where the crew have their quarters. There's the cello deck, which is where the main restaurant is and more staterooms. The violin deck is where your fitness room is. That's in the aft. And we're going to use our nautical lingo here. So aft is the back of the boat, along with the massage and hair salon. No, I could use a massage thing. The hair salon I really wouldn't have much use for. There's the chef's table restaurant, which is just amazing. And then towards the bow are the gift shop, the main lounge and bar, and then there's a bow seating area. And also there's a few staterooms mixed in there. And then up on top is the sun deck. There's a walking track, the sun deck, of course. There's a whirlpool that's near the bow, along with the navigation bridge. And then there's
Which I
also,
will I will just qualify that it's a very small little hot tub.
yes.
It's tiny.
Then there's the observation deck there. And they also have bicycles that you can then rent whenever
They
you are.
certainly do.
We have a story that Maureen will share later on about that. And I
The
believe they have,
bicycles, though, I will say that you can either take a tour, which they have most of the ports, they do have tours, but they also, if there's bikes there, you can take one off and ride on your own if you want to at the different locations.
yeah, so they are limited with the number of bikes they do have on board. So it's not just everyone gets to borrow one. It's kind of a first come, first serve. Make sure you have make your arrangements early, but you do get to use those. And I believe with the fitness center, there are some stationary bikes that are kind of like out in the little outdoor area, or at least by the windows, you can ride as you're
They're in the little
going along.
fitness area. They never actually brought them on deck, but I think some of the ships they do bring them out on deck as well.
So, but with Maureen's trip, started in Paris, and just I've been there too. It's a small, boring town, not much to see, right?
Nothing. No, we were so ready to go.
No,
Yeah, okay.
it's called the City of Light and the City of Love for a reason. And one of the most iconic features of the Eiffel Tower of Paris is the Eiffel Tower. Designed by Gustave Eiffel, built from 1887 to 1889, 1,083 feet tall. Now, I guess we should give that in meters because it's France, but
No, let's do
no,
feet.
feet. So it was the tallest structure in the world for 41 years up until well, it surpassed the Washington Monument whenever it was built in 1889, and then in 1930 whenever the Chrysler building was built in New York, that was taller.
We actually took before when we dropped our luggage off at the ship, we left and took a walk up to where the Eiffel Tower that the day we got there so that we could all of us be there at the base and see it and walk around it and then walked around a little area in town and had a little lunch at a little cafe. It was lovely. Yeah.
What
We
in
did not
arrival
take a ride up. We did not go up in we had not planned ahead for that. We didn't want to do that. We didn't want to take that time. We'll do that a different time when we come back again.
and of course she will be back again.
Oh, yes.
So whenever we were there, and this was like 25 years ago, that I've told the story on here that my brother-in-law was studying in Germany. He was international business major. So in college he went there, and then my parents agreed to let my sister go as long as I went with her. So I was forced to go on a European vacation with my sister.
Forced, yes, absolutely. Just
You
it
know,
was a chore, I know, but it was so kind of you to do that as a big brother,
oh, actually, a younger brother. She's a little bit
younger
older
brother,
than me.
even
So
kinder, even
see,
kinder.
so but no, we actually did go up on it. We did not go all the way to the highest level. There are a couple different levels you can go to, and
Right.
I think our there's a restaurant that's like the Jules Verne. Um, and there we went up to like that level, and it was like one of the not the highest, like the second highest level. And even up there, there was a little observation deck. And I mentioned this whenever we talked about Disneyland Paris. There's like little directional things, and we could just,
Hmm.
oh, there's Disneyland Paris. There's the, Notre Dame. There's whatever. So um, it's definitely worth going up at least one time in your life. And Maureen's going to get there.
One day, yes,
But
absolutely.
when push comes to shove, if you got limited time, you got to make your choices.
You,
And
but you at least get there and you get to see it. And there was a huge crowd trying to get in, so we were quite content to be at the base taking pictures. It was great.
yeah, it's slightly popular.
Very, yeah, just a thud.
Another slightly popular place to go when you're in Paris is Notre Dame, built from 1163 to 1345. So almost 200 years to build this thing.
And
The
it's still under construction.
Yeah, from the repairs
Well,
after the
renovation
fire.
anyway, yes, because it's still, we took the last day of the cruise when we were back in Paris. They had a river cruise on a different little tour boat that took you up and down, and you could see a better view of Notre Dame then, but there's still a lot of scaffolding and everything up there. Side note, by the way, you have to preface that Notre Dame, the one in Paris, because every single little town we went to has a Notre Dame.
Pretty much.
They're everywhere. So when you say Notre Dame, I had actually posted something about the Notre Dames or the many Notre Dames, and somebody said, "Are you sure you meant that?" I said, "Oh yes, yes I did. There are so many of them." So it's not. It's almost like you've got when you say everybody just they expect that to be Notre Dame is in Paris. True. And also here and there and there. It's just it was crazy when I realized that. I had no idea.
The steel line from Dr. Seuss, here, there, and everywhere,
Everywhere. Exactly.
even in South Bend, Indiana. So
See, they're everywhere, literally.
now on the site of where Notre Dame sits now, there have been some religious sites there since the fourth century. So there's the Cathedral of Saint, what was it, Etienne, that was built there just to the west of where Notre Dame is now, back in the 300s. So yeah, a lot of history there. The current cathedral is 420 feet long, 157 feet wide. The nave is 115 feet tall. The towers go up to 226 feet, and then the spire is 315 feet tall. And if you ever go in there, looking out, the rose windows are so pretty.
I bet.
That is, especially because it's kind of dark in there, and then if you are there during the day, and then the light streams through those windows, and they just stand out
So
of
yeah.
this array of color. Like it's kind of like the Dorothy Wizard of Oz thing of
Oh,
going
the red
from
slippers from black and white to
that. Yeah, whenever she goes into
yeah.
Munchkinland, you open the door and it's color, and it's like that's the thing. You're opening that door. There's the color on the outside, and everything inside is black and white. Some other famous landmarks are the Arc de Triomphe. And it's officially the Arc de Triomphe de l'Etoile. We need to
Very
have,
good.
I can fake it a lot. We need to get Amanda on here because she's like the French expert. She took French in high school. So this is at the western end of the Champs-Élysées. It's the center of the place. Well, place Charles de Gaulle. Or is it the Place Charles de Gaulle? If we want to put our accent in there.
If you want to put the accent, sure. It sounds good. It sounds very
Yeah.
French.
Now it's formerly the Place de l'Etoile. So that's where you get the little ending of Arc de Triomphe. And Etoile means star. And basically it's because it's the hub of like 12 radiating avenues that come out of it. It was inspired by the Arc of Titus in Rome. Construction began in 1806. It was inaugurated in 1836. Now, but now it wasn't just like this big long, construction project. That the construction stopped for a 15-year period during the Bourbon Restoration from 1815 to 1830.
So
And
the
it,
one bike ride I went, he took us across the main street and stopped us in the middle, in between all the cars, to get pictures of us with that in the background. So we all held our breath as the cars were kind of at a point, and we all stood in the middle of the middle of this huge road and took the pictures. It was, yeah.
everyone's smiling, but it's you can see if reading under the breath, they were saying, "Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry
Oh,
up."
exactly, exactly. It's like, is this safe? Are you really doing this? Because this is the guy telling us, are we really going to do this? There's a lot of cars here. We did.
And yeah, and it's an impressive. It's a big structure. I mean, you see it on TV and everything. It doesn't look too huge, but there's not usually not much scale there. But it's 164 feet high, 148 feet wide, and 72 feet deep. So this is big.
Hmm.
And you figure it was built, 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Sorry, that's says
That's
something.
for back then. It's really, yeah.
Now, speaking of the Champs-Élysées, it runs about 1.2 miles from the Arc de Triomphe at Charles Place de Gaulle, Place Charles de Gaulle, getting the order right on those. That's in the west. It goes to Place de la Concorde in the east. It's now this is a big road too. It's 230 feet wide.
That would be the road we stood on,
Yep, right in the middle of it.
in the middle, yeah, right in the middle of it, holding our breath, going, nobody come, nobody come. And then having to go back to the other side again.
I say you're running out 115 feet into it, and
Exactly. And then going back.
this is not quite like the Beatles on like Abbey Road crossing the street.
No, no, it was not that way.
Now, this was originally laid out in 1667 during the reign of Louis XIV as an extension of the Tuileries Garden. And those gardens date all the way to like 1540, 1564. They were rebuilt in 1664. And it was called the Grand Course or the Grand Promenade until 1709, whenever it got the official name. Then in 1710, it was extended to Place Charles de Gaulle. And then the Commit Champs-Élysées. Now, the name has changed a few times, but it's the oldest standing committee in Paris. That they seek public projects to enhance the avenue's unique atmosphere. Um, People have lobbied for extended business hours, or they've extended, try to get extended business hours for the different stores along it. And they organize special events, such as like on Bastille Day, July 14th. They get the largest military parade in Europe going down it. During Christmas season, it's all decorated with Christmas decorations, and the last stage of the Tour de France is there. At least since 1975. It was not there last year though. 2024 because of the Olympics, so they had to make a slight alteration.
They still had some scaffolding and stuff up when we were there from the last time, from the last Tour de France.
Yeah, and then Tour de France is usually starts like July 1st and then runs
Hmm.
like
So they
21
still,
days.
yep, yep, they still had some of the stuff and some of the road closures. So there's still because we were there, that we left on the 10th, so they were there then. So they still had some of that there.
And now Paris, obviously, it's the center of art, fashion, gastronomy, and culture. So some place you can go is the Montmartre, which is the bohemian heart and soul of Paris chic. And this was that a lot of artists and revolutionary thinkers are around there. Uh, Père Lachaise, which is a famous cemetery that has Jim Morrison, Edith Piaf, Chopin, Oscar Wilde are all buried there. And then so many museums like the Louvre. That the Louvre Palace was built in the late 12th century to the early 13th century. You can still see some of the remnants of the medieval Louvre fortress in the basement of it. The museum opened in 1793 with 537 paintings, and then Napoleon really expanded that collection. Today it has 615,797 items in its collection. About 35,000 of those are on display. So that just says something about what it has in its storage.
We were able to, the last day, we were able to ride up into that courtyard where the pyramid is, and the lines to get into the Louvre were unbelievable. It was just exciting to be able to ride in there to actually see it because we knew we weren't going to have time to go actually go in the museum, but we actually saw it. We saw everybody knows the pyramids and knows that's the Louvre. So that was fun.
Yeah, and Maureen said it was crowded. 8.7 million visitors every year.
It was, the lines were, I don't know what time they all got in line, and we were in the morning, so it was, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and Maureen mentioned the pyramids, those famous glass pyramids that opened in 1988, designed by IMPay. And whenever we were there, the museum was on strike, or the museum workers were on strike. So we got to see the pyramids also. We did not get to go in.
It does inside. So again, you have to go back.
So, exactly. I see nothing wrong with that, right? Another trip to
No,
Paris. So, I don't know if it's here. I know in a lot of places in Europe that if you can buy the tickets online beforehand. And if you can, that's definitely what you should do
you need to do it ahead of time. Don't wait.
because
Yeah,
and some have like a citywide museum pass too that I would highly recommend because most of the people waiting in line are waiting in line to buy the tickets, not to get into the
exactly.
museum. They're there to buy tickets. So if you
Right.
have
You
the
need to,
tickets,
yes, you need to buy them ahead of time. You need to make plans and do it ahead of time, not wait till you get there.
now some of the things you can see in the Louvre, they have Egyptian art, Islamic art, Greek, Roman, and Etruscan. Those darn Etruscans. There's different sculptures, decorative art, which is basically furniture, and then some of the paintings, mainly from the Renaissance, of Leonardo da Vinci, or as the one meme is, like who painted the Mona Lisa? Da Vinci? Yeah. Things by Raphael, Michelangelo. There are no Donatello paintings, sadly. You know, Splinter is not happy about that. But there is a terracotta relief by Donatello, so at least we have all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles represented.
Good to know.
Growing up, you just had the names, then you finally realize, Michael.
Exactly. Oh, they
Oh,
really are.
that's yeah. So it's whoever came up with the Ninja Turtles knew their art.
Knew them.
They
Yes,
were
they did. They knew their art.
they were classy. Now a couple of the other ones. There's the Musée d'Orsay, the Musée National d'Art Moderne. So modern art. Rodin has a whole museum devoted to Rodin. So the Thinker, the Kiss, the Gates of Hell are some of his more famous works. The Saint Chapelle, which has a bunch of stained glass it is famous for. Rue Cremieux is the most colorful street in Paris. They have like all these pastel colored buildings, and it's pedestrians only, so you can walk down the street without having to worry about getting run over. So next time, that's where you get your picture taken, Maureen. You don't get the Arc de Triomphe in the background, but it's safer.
It's still,
The Palais Garnier Opera House, and now is that the supposed to be the setting for Fan of the Opera, possibly because it's kind of the famous opera house in
it
Paris.
would make sense, but I'm not positive on that one. I'd have to ask my son because he'd be the expert on the operas.
It is now because we were saying it is, and it's on a podcast, so it's got to be
I
true.
like it. I like it. There you go.
Then there's a couple gardens there, the Tuileries and Luxembourg one, and then cafes, bars, restaurants all over the place.
So
Oh,
many cafes. Oh my goodness.
now I have my story here about being careful what you do in the cafes in Paris, that or in France in general. That whenever we went over there, that we were college kids, late teens, early 20s. And so we went into a cafe and we just ordered milkshakes because that's, we do that here in the US, going to like, at least for Western Pennsylvania, Eaton Park or, one of those little restaurants, just Applebee's, something, just get a milkshake and that's all you're going to get. And they're fine with that. Not in Paris. That we went in, we ordered it, and the, waiter came and he put the bread on the table and we're munching on that. And we ordered milkshakes and he brings that. And he says, okay, what would you like to eat? And we said, oh no, we're good. We just want this. He's like, no, 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 no. What do you want to eat? They're like, no, we just wanted the drink. And he got mad and he snatched the bread, threw the check down, and stormed off. My sister was definitely not happy with that rude behavior that we were given. But know the, and this will be part of some of my travel tips later. Know the culture because we did the wrong thing there. In a cafe in Paris, you go to eat, not just
So
milkshakes. You go to eat.
when we were in one of our little stops we made, it's one of the ones coming up, when our tour guide was taking us through, and we're at this little port town and they had all these cafes, and she told us, if they have silverware out on the tables, you must order food. If they do not have silverware on the tables, you can just go in for coffee. Okay, then. So that's what she said. That's how she said we would know whether it was okay to go in and not have anything besides just coffee and maybe a croissant. If you had silverware, then you must order food. And sometimes at 11 o'clock, it switches from having nothing on the table to having silverware so that you have to order food. That was her tip for us.
Important things to know.
Important things to know. Look for the silverware.
And this is why you get a travel advisor like Maureen, because she will tell you that stuff so you know where to go if you just want the coffee, where you go if you actually want to eat, and so you don't get put into an awkward situation where you have the
Exactly.
waiter getting mad at you and snatching the bread away.
Right.
But yeah,
For
so
sure.
we don't make those faux pas like we did. So that's why we go through and we do the bad things so that you don't have to. So we suffer the embarrassment. That's how dedicated we are.
That's right. So one of the things that's interesting in Paris along the Seine before we ever cruised, when we were walking, and even when we took the one cruise for the tour, there's a smaller version of the Statue of Liberty in the middle of the Seine in Paris as a tribute to the Statue of Liberty that is in New York. And it is a smaller, identical statue in on Seine by a bridge. And yes, I do have a picture of that, but it's their smaller replica as an honor to the one in New York.
And now is that also green?
It looked green to me when we were there. We didn't get close to it, but it sure did look green.
Because the original Statue of Liberty was copper. Well, it still is copper, but it had that
Right.
nice
It is
golden copper
right.
sheen, and
Yes.
it has
Yes.
just, as you've seen with
But it
old
looks,
pennies,
yes.
they tend to turn green with it. So
It
we just
did.
got to
It
spiffen
looks
up.
it, and it was on a small little piece of almost like its own little island. It was just interesting to see. It's like, oh, who knew? I did not know. I never knew that. But that was something I learned.
And of course, we know the Statue of Liberty was a gift from Paris, so or
Right.
from France.
Exactly. France. Yep.
So now on the actual, well, I guess you got on the cruise, and then the first day after cruising was Les Andelys.
The Andelys.
Les Andelys. Yeah, they don't say the S.
Yes. That was where we had our first bike tour. And it was lovely. It was a small little town with cobblestone streets. We rode along a little creek area. They had these cute little houses. Every one of these little towns reminded me of Beauty and the Beast come to life. They were just all these quaint little towns. It was lovely. And then they pulled us in to see this painting, and it was a huge mural in this community building, the community room in a large government building that we parked our bikes out, went in, and Francis Tottlegrain, who painted this, it was the, purposely put the pronunciation here, La bouche inutile, and that means useless mouth. And what he explained this to us, the history was amazing in all these towns. The history was that this was part of the castle, the Chateau Gaillard Castle that we went to go to see. When they were going through the different wars they had, the people were starving basically. And when they tried to eat, because they had had no food for so long, they put it in their mouth and they would either choke because they couldn't swallow it because they had not been used to it, or it would go down and their stomachs would swell up. So it was a useless mouth. And that's what this whole painting, and it was pretty graphic with the people and how they were, you could tell that they were in the middle of winter, and they were worn from the war. But we just that was one of the big parts of this whole tour. It was amazing.
And the Chateau Galliard Castle that was erected in 1196 under the direction of Richard the Lionhearted. and now today is officially quote unquote in ruins. That and that's the one
Which
thing.
it is. We that's where we rode our bike and we were at the thankfully they didn't make it we didn't ride up there because it's quite a hike. But we were at the base of it. My son and his husband took the walking trail and it walked all the way up. He said it was really incredible to see the insides of this, and you could tell how it had been used at the time when people were trying to attack. I loved the bike ride, but part of me was like, can we do two tours? Can I go back up there now?
That just means you have to take another tour and do it again, so you can do all the
Maybe
stuff you
another
didn't do the
cruise. I
first
mean,
time. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I
exactly.
meant to do the cruise a second time.
Yes, to do a second time. I bet I could. I bet I could do that.
And so now the town is called Les Andelais because there's two of them. It's a combination of Le Grand Andelais and Le Petit Grand Andelais. So the big and the small one.
Right.
And now it's near these big limestone cliffs too. It leaves for some dramatic views. And a few other places that you can see other than the Gilliard Castle is the Collegiate Church of Our Lady. And it's kind of
We
like
got to
there.
see that on the outside. We didn't get to go on the inside of that one that day, but we did get to stand outside the outside and see it. It was oh shoot. Now I wish I would have I think it was Racine. I think it was him. There's a statue outside the church that has something, and behind it, if you really look at it, it's a hot air balloon. Apparently, that's where the hot air balloon was first invented and how it was first flew up right around that area.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now, the church itself is known for its high ceilings, stained glass, and a spectacularly carved organ on the inside. And that's the one thing you'll notice about the cathedrals all throughout Europe. And if you study any of the history of it, is how, when they, as the technology and the knowledge of building them got better and better, how they start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was always for the, greater glory of the town to be known and get tourists. I mean, for the greater glory of God, always.
What was interesting though, what we were told on, and I don't remember which one, but one of the tour guides said what was interesting is the majority of the cathedrals were built as fortresses, and at the time were not religious. That came along later. They said that majority of them were built as fortresses for wars and for skirmishes to protect the towns, protect the areas, and it wasn't always religious overtones until later on. That was very interesting.
Definitely. Another thing you want to see in the town is the Saint Clotilde fountain, which is like a miraculous spring that the Queen Clotilda's prayers turned the water into wine for parched workmen. So there's the spring, natural spring there, and that is what the history of it. So if you drink some of the water and you get a little tipsy, it's not your fault.
There you go.
This is also the birthplace of Nicholas Poussin, the celebrated 17th century painter, and there's a whole museum that's dedicated to him there. Yeah, I believe it's called the Coriolan Souple par ses familles. I have that written down there for
Sounds good to
something.
me.
It's good. I like it.
Sounds good.
I wrote that down for some reason. It's fancy, fun to say. Now, next, it's now the way this is spelled is LE, then HAVRE. Now, since this is football season, that's Le Havre.
And they were the way that our guide pronounced it was Le Havre.
Le Havre. Yeah. So
Le Havre.
we're,
Yeah,
we're going off of Brett Favre, Brett
that's
Favre,
right.
the
Exactly.
Hall of Fame quarterback. So this is France's second largest port.
And it's the mouth of the English Channel and the Seine, so it's a pretty big area as far as in and out and all the traffic as far as sea traffic and that.
And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and was nearly destroyed during World War II. And now the rebuilding was led by architect Auguste Perret. who rebuilt the interconnected city of concrete and neoclassicism. So has that for a nice combination of styles,
Right.
Inclu- including one of the main attractions is the Church of Saint Joseph.
So on this particular stop, we did a half day tour of um, Honfleur. Honfleur. I think it was Honfleur because I put that pronunciation too. That is another port. And so that was in the morning. And then we went to Le Havre in the afternoon where we got to see the Church of St. Joseph. It was amazing. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you're from Texas, the tower at UT reminded us very much of how this tower is at the church. It's this very tall, just this huge, long, tall tower. Um, it's got a gorgeous organ, but the acoustics are awful because the whole thing's concrete, and so it makes for really poor acoustics for a choir or for singing. Um, a woman designed the stained glass windows. Her name was Marguerite Hira. I'm not sure how to say that. But her windows, what's interesting with this is number one, she did them as blown glass. So the stained glass windows are blown glass of different, even all the thicknesses are different because of the way it was done. When you're on the outside of the church, you cannot see the stained glass windows. You can't see any of the colors. When you go inside, you have these beautiful colors, and they all start from the bottom and go up to where it's white at the top. It was an amazing, amazing place to sit and look at.
Yeah, and there are 12,768 pieces of stained glass in this church. And it's been kind of described as a soaring, futuristic, beacon like tower that resembles a luminous geometric kaleidoscope.
And it starts with she used primarily seven colors, and it goes from the bottom with darker all the way up. It was incredible.
I think the church that we used to go to, or my parents still do, I now live in a different city, but it was like attached to the grade school we went to. That it started with it was a pyramid shaped church, and then like sort of on the edges of the pyramid, like going up the sides, it went from like the red on the bottom, almost like the white on top. So it's kind of like the same type of thing with like the stained glass. So I wonder if they got inspiration from the Church of Saint Joseph for that.
I don't know. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm gonna put up closer, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little blurry on the image that Maureen showed, and I think because you have your background blurred, but I can see like the
Swear to
outline
God.
of
There
it,
you
and
go.
it's a big tower.
Ah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna I'm gonna see if I can unback. Oops. Hold on, don't go away. Let's see that. Oh yeah. So you see that big tower. You can't see any stained glass on that at all.
yeah. It seems
And
like
but
just,
inside is just, yeah. I'm not sure they got it inside here. It's because I happen to have this here.
and is
This
that
is the
a
inside of it though. This is the huge, yeah, this is the
is that
huge
shaped?
tower. This is from the,
Oh yeah,
you can see all the way to the top.
no, it's kind of like either a hexagonal thing or an octagon. I can't see how many exact sides it is.
Yes, it's
Going up
one, two, three, four, five, six, six. Yeah.
hexagon. It actually reminds me a little bit on the outside of the oh geez, where was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? What was the theater called?
Oh, um,
I'm losing it here.
ah,
It's also a restaurant
my
in
brain's gone. Yeah,
yeah.
my brain's gone. So this is, see if we can see this of it. This is the lights of the windows on the inside. That's how they are on
Oh
the inside going up.
yeah, and
So
you can
it was it was it was truly beautiful. It's one of those tours where all were okay. I'm really glad we went on this one. This was great.
the Carthay Circle Theater. Thank you. All
Oh,
right.
yes, there you go. There you go. Yes.
I think we just lost our Disney license right there for not remembering that. But
No, no,
yeah,
there's so many Disney things. That's it. We got it though. We got
but
it.
like with that tower, how it's shaped and it kind of is that same similar um roundish hexagonal shape, octagonal, whatever
Hmm.
shape it is going up, that's what it reminds me of, although the Church of St. Joseph is a whole lot taller.
Interesting.
At least it seems like it's a whole lot taller from seeing the pictures of it. So now other things you might want to see there are the town hall, which is an 18-story tower, It has a square and a fountain and a square in it with like a fountain and garden, so real pretty inside. Uh, Le Havre also has their own Church of Notre Dame, which dates to the 17th century, so not quite as old as the Paris one. Then there's the Halles Centralis. It's a covered market. And then they have a bunch of museums and some parks too.
And then the on floor, which is where we went to in the first place, they have that's where they have a lot of little shopping, and they have little sidewalk cafes. Their church actually has the church on one area and the bell tower is across the way because they were afraid the bell tower would collapse the church. So they have them in two separate places across the sidewalk area,
That's an
which was
interesting arc.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was fascinating. They also had it's a very big seafood area and big fisherman's place. And they had a seafood market that was apparently just people is line up for forever. So we walked through it, and yes, they have everything you'd ever want to have for seafood. What's interesting is that the fishermen cannot sell their seafood to anybody in the town or people come in. But if their family wants to sell it, the fishermen can take the seafood and give it to their family who is not on the boat, and they can sell it in a little market they have there.
that's interesting. Spreading the
It's
wealth, I
very
guess.
interesting. I guess it was very interesting. It was a lovely little town with this sweet little area with all these little sailboats and everything. They had a drawbridge there that they would wait and had to wait to get people through it. And they had it was manually operated. So they had a person that was on each side of the drawbridge, and when a little boat would go through, they have to wait, and they'd have the drawbridge go up, and they'd have to make sure the cars were off and the pedestrians were off, and then the boat would go through, and then they would have each person on each side would operate the drawbridge to go back down again back down so the cars could go through and the people could go back across again. And then
Teamwork.
opposite that was where they had this cute little carousel. It was the sweetest little town.
That's one of the other things that you get on the river cruises is that some of the most amazing things are the smaller towns you don't expect to be the most amazing.
Yes, and that's what we found. Yes.
And that was on the Viking, it was an ocean cruise that my brother-in-law and sister went on. But it was like, yeah, there was this small town that we stopped in. That we didn't think much of it. And we are like, okay, yeah, we're going to see, um, start in Rome, and then we're going to Barcelona, and we're doing this, and we're doing that. And then there's a small town. It's like, that was the one we liked most. So you uncover these hidden gems.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Now, the next day it was Cuddebeck and Caw. I'm hoping I'm saying that correct.
So that was actually where we ended up because we were still in Le Havre when we got where we started our excursion to Normandy because this was our Normandy day. So this is where we took our all-day bus trip to Normandy. And when we came back, the boat had changed places. So we left the port one place and came back to a different place, which is apparently happens with river cruising.
So you get to catch up to the boat,
And
or the
we
boat
have to
catches
catch
up
up.
to you, one or
Yes,
the other.
well, whichever goes, yes, you're changing locations. So we left out of Le Havre, and that's what we did to Normandy, and then we went to the different one. Normandy was probably it was one of those experiences that you'll never have again. Um, we went to the Normandy American Cemetery, which was so moving. We were able to participate in the flower ceremony, and actually, the gentleman from the cemetery came up and asked one of our guests if he had served, and he said yes. And he said, "Would you carry the wreath of flowers to the memorial?" So he got to do this. I mean, it was incredible. Even my kids who are in their 30s said they never would have thought they felt that much there. It was just incredible. And we had time to walk around. The front of the cemetery was they only allow certain parts to be opened up at a time. So the front was still cordoned off so you could see it, but you couldn't walk among the different crosses. The back part we could walk among the crosses. And so they don't at the front, you can't see, and you can't even see that you can't see anybody's names because everybody is equal on this. Everything is equal upon it. But on the when they have somebody come and they want to see their family, they will brush it with I believe it was sand, something in to bring out the name so they could actually see where they are.
Yeah.
It
So
was amazing.
are they marble markers that they have there? At least that's what it
I
looks
believe
like.
so. I believe
And
so.
that's, and
Yeah.
so it's like carved into it
Yes.
in such a way
Yes.
that it's still all the white marble and that it's hard to read.
Yes.
So whenever you rub the sand in it, then you have that contrast that makes it
Yes.
stand out and you can
Yes.
actually read it. So that's
And they as you go through, they have all the crosses, but then they have some that's Star of David's in the within the crosses, so that you could tell who were those of the who were the Jewish that were also, but they're all in mixed in there. There was no rhyme or reason. There was no hierarchy. Everybody is the same.
that's very touching and it it's just a powerful statement of the
It's
people who
very
served
powerful.
there. And
Yes.
now I haven't
What was interesting? Have you been? Were you ever there?
no, I have never been to Normandy. It's on my list, but I was just going to
It is
compare it to like going to Gettysburg and going to the cemetery there.
probably very similar. Yes. What was interesting, we also went to the Omaha Beach landing site. It was after what we felt and how moving it was at the cemetery, Omaha Beach was a typical beach town. There were people on the beach, they were running around, they were in the water. It looked like just a resort town. They had a memorial that was actually in the water, and they actually say don't go within so many meters because out of respect, but people were there getting pictures with it. It was not, I guess we were all kind of like, wow, we expected this to be kind of more like the cemetery, and it was just another resort town, but happened to have a memorial there.
Yeah.
It was very different. Although I've seen and looked at different YouTubes, and my husband was telling me the same thing. He's watched some YouTubes in different times of the year when it's not in the middle of the summer, and so it's not tourist season, that it's much quieter and it looks more like what you would expect from it being the landing site.
So that's one of the bonuses of going there in the off season or a shoulder season, whenever it's not the height of tourist season and
Probably so. Probably
local
so,
beach
yeah. I
season.
mean, it was
Yeah.
still amazing. It was still amazing, but it was one of those, wow, okay.
Well, hold on. We have a guest here on the podcast. My little girl would like to say something to Maureen as long as it's a nice thing she's going to say.
Okay.
Okay, come on. What are we going to tell her?
My friend Kate is outside.
Oh, her friend across the street's outside playing.
That's exciting.
Stay with her after you're done with your
Yeah, a
meeting.
little bit. Yep. Why will be home soon too?
Do you have any kids or just two dogs?
My kids are older kids, but I
Yeah.
have two kids.
Her kids are all grown up now. Okay.
What's their name?
Yeah. We'll talk later on. Okay. Thank you. I just got kisses on the cheek.
I saw.
So now the place that Maureen ended up here is the northernmost point on the Seine River. And it was once the center of the European hat industry. So they made waterproof hats with mercury. So that's a good idea, right? So,
Right.
since they used mercury, that poisoned a lot of the people who wore the hats, who made them quote unquote mad. And so this might have been the inspiration for the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. Now, there's also a Church of Notre Dame here, built in the 15th century. Henry IV allegedly declared it the most beautiful chapel in the kingdom. Now, the facade was damaged by bullets and fire during World War II, and they have some exquisitely sculpted human figures in there with some medieval stained glass and a 16th century organ. Another place is Maison des Templiers, which I get the House of the Templars. So the Knights Templar, they were founded in 1119 AD in Jerusalem by the French knight, I guess it's Hughes de Payenne and 8 others. They protected the pilgrims during their trips to the Holy Land and fought in the Crusades, later dissolved in 1312. But this was one of the oldest homes in Normandy. It was built in 1610, and now it's a history museum. There's also a bunch of canals there and a 14th century prison that has flowers in the windows, you can see.
It's interesting. I was thinking about this when you said canals. One of the things that was most interesting for us on this cruise, on the river cruise, we went through 9 locks. And I guess I never thought about going through the locks. I never thought that there would be locks in Paris, but we went through 9 locks. And it was one of those things like, wow, because you were, aside from all this, you're on the ship and you're watching and you see the countryside, and all of a sudden you see this wall beside you. And you're talking, remember, river cruises, the ships are not that wide. And so all of a sudden, your little area, which you're looking out, has this wall and bricks, and suddenly you're going down and it's above you. And all of a sudden you're flying through, and all of a sudden the doors open and you're going back up, and then you see the countryside again. I had no idea. This is one of those things we're all going, this was the coolest thing we've ever seen. Never experienced it before. I never even thought it would happen, but it was one of those things that, wow, this is pretty cool.
And growing up in Pittsburgh on the, Three River City with the Allegheny and the Monongahela, formerly
Right.
Ohio River, that we
Mhm.
have them all the time. And my dad and uncle have a little speedboat, 16 footer, nothing elaborate that they use for fishing or we'll, go water skiing, things like that. And we have never gone through the locks though. We
I
we,
I
we go
I
right
just
up to
never,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
We had one that they actually had, the our cruise manager was talking us through as you went through, because it was one of the bigger ones. I can't remember where we were, but it was just crazy watching this whole thing. As all of a sudden you go down, and then one morning we'd gone through, and I believe that my one of my kids looked out their window and went, "Oh, there's no water, there's a wall." You
Yeah.
don't
And
see
also,
that. You don't normally see that on the cruise ships. So
yeah, it's a unique thing to see. And also now living here in Morgantown, we have the other end of well, farther down the Monongahela, we also have the locks there too that we,
okay,
um, it's actually pretty dramatic drop on a couple of them that you're walking along and like,
it's
the water's like, a foot below where the ground level is. And then you pass the lock and it's like 30 feet down. So some of those can
yeah,
be some big drops.
it's pretty amazing how, yeah, it is. It was fun that night because we'd gone to Normandy. They had an Andrews Sisters act on the ship after dinner in the
Oh,
lounge.
wow.
So it was very, very cool. I didn't see that one. My husband and my daughter stayed put, and they recorded it for us. But my son and his husband and we took a walk into, um called Becanco, is how I pronounced that. Called Becanco, I think is what it said. Anyway, that little town. Um, and we wandered around and got a champagne at a sidewalk cafe, and it started to rain, and we are sitting there with all these people from the little network, from this little community. And it was like, okay, this is what this is all about. This was just amazing to be part of this little town. All these were locals. They're all sitting having champagne and wine and mussels. And then it started to rain, and we walked back in the rain. It was the coolest evening.
Definitely going through your small town,
Yep,
your provincial Paris life.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And for those unfamiliar, the Andrews Sisters were a very popular singing group back in the 40s. So, like the World War II, that was
Hmm.
like the big entertainment thing for the troops there. So, very appropriate for having just been the Normandy.
And that's local entertainment. That's the other thing is part of on this. This is local entertainment they bring in from the community where they are. So these people have not been on the ship the whole time. They come on for the entertainment, and then they go back off to wherever they're going.
And that's one of the main things with the AmaWaterways is that they have that local entertainment, they have the local storytellers, they have the local food. So it really puts you into and gives you that cultural experience of where you're going, and it changes each day as you go through to different places. That's one of the reasons why they're the best. And now the next day, it was
Wrong, wrong.
Rouen,
Now they have that wrong.
R
It's not like
O U E
wrong,
N, Rouen. Yeah,
wrong, wrong. Yes, we practice that one a lot.
I know this
That's
was
the
a
one. Oh, that was we did a taste of Normandy on that one. We did an excursion, and we did a chocolate and cheese tasting. It was divine. It was truly lovely. And there's also, on the way she pointed out several cathedrals, and we went back up on the, we went back in afterwards, and I don't, I lost count of how many cathedrals there were in this little town.
Now you were also there on a special day too.
We were there on Bastille Day, which was very cool because that night we had, that's when we did our chef's dinner that night. So we had our chef's table, which is something on AmaWaterways. They have a chef's table, which is a 5 course, very fine dining meal that the chef is right there cooking in front of you. And it's everybody gets the chance of doing one. So you get on the ship and you make reservations for one night. And it's a private dining room. There is about six, maybe 24 people total, maybe on our one. Maybe I'm in that many. And so that was lovely. And then afterwards, we went into the lounge and they had a French cabaret because again, it was Bastille Day. They had entertainment, very reminiscent of a French cabaret. And then that night we went upstairs onto the the sun deck, and the little town had a fireworks display over the bridge just beyond us. So we got to sit up there drinking champagne, watching fireworks on Bastille Day. It was great. It was just one of those things that's like, okay, we're gonna do this again. Can we please do this again?
Especially after the night before where you're saying, all right, this is the best day ever. And then you have this
Right?
like,
And
no,
then
this is the best day
no, this
ever.
is the best day ever. Every day was the best day ever. It was so good.
It reminds me of the great well, great he's a Pittsburgher. He's from Beaver Falls, one of the quarterbacks of the 60s and 70s, Joe Willie Namath, Broadway Joe.
Oh
That
yeah.
he's the guarantee was Super Bowl three and everything. Um, very bombastic, but he got it done. But he wrote a book that says, "I can't wait till tomorrow because I get better looking every day." So personally, I can relate to that. But it's like an analogy for Maureen's trip is I can't wait till tomorrow because it's gonna be a better day of doing stuff.
Every day was such a great day. It was.
Now, the city that they were in of Rouen, it was a capital city as far back as Viking times. Now, the current capital is Normandy. It's the current capital of Normandy, and it was often fought over between the English and the French. And this is where Joan of Arc was tried and burned at the stake. And there's a
And
museum.
we saw that. We went to that museum. We got to see exactly where she was. We saw the church that it's a celebration of her life. So yeah, that was one of the many cathedrals again in that little town.
Yeah, it's a museum at the Archbishop's Palace for that, and it's considered "quote unquote" a museum town. That Victor Hugo called it the city of 100 spires, which goes into how many cathedrals there are.
I I can see that.
It actually reminds me of whenever I was in college in Erie, Pennsylvania, that it seemed like there was a church on every single corner. That, or traveling like into Indonesia with my wife, it's like there's a mosque on every corner. It's like that type of thing.
Right.
And so, some of the places that, the big things you see is the Abbatiale Saint Ouen. So, like the place where Abbott lives, Saint Owen, Palais de Justice, the Rouen Cathedral, which is officially called the Cathédrale Primatale Notre-Dame de Assomption de Rouen. Okay, basically the Assumption of Saint Mary type thing. 55 bells in this thing. It was built over a period of 800 years from 1030 to 1880. So 850 years actually. Consecrated in 1063, and it was one of Claude Monet's favorite subjects to paint.
Interesting.
So, yeah, just to give you some context to the so many cathedrals. Yeah.
It's seriously I mean, especially in that town.
The next day was Vernon or Vernon, I guess.
Brno. Brno.
And because some of the things you'll see there are the Torrelay Castle, which was built in 1196. It has quadruple towers, so four towers here. Then the Collegiate Church, Notre Dame.
We actually saw that one. Mike and I went on one excursion, the kids went on another, and we came back from that one, walked into town because we'd seen the signs for this, and it was still had a scaffolding and everything. But we actually got to go inside that one. It was impressive to say the least.
Again, more cities with a Notre Dame cathedral. So
Yep, yep.
in town's also the Old Mill, may or may not be inspiration for the Silly Symphony thing that Disney made, first use of the multi-plane camera. Okay. So this sits on the remains of an ancient bridge above the river. The bridge was destroyed at least 3 times in the 19th and 20th centuries, but the mill was never destroyed. And this place was also painted by Claude Monet. There's a bunch of cafes in the town. It is the gateway to the Giverny Gardens, and it liberated itself during World War II. That there was a small resistance group that destroyed the bridge that was used by the Germans and helped. They attacked the barracks there.
So our kids actually went on the walking tour to Monet's Home and Gardens. I really wish we had done that. We went to a tour of a chateau, which was lovely, but their pictures and what they described from Monet's Gardens were absolutely beautiful. So next cruise, we will reverse that. We will go to this one. Um, Funny part was is that on a river cruise, you don't have a bunch of cruises like on a cruise ship. You have cruise ship, cruise ship, cruise ship this way. When a river cruise, they're back to back to back. So you have to walk through another cruise ship to get to your cruise ship, and many times. So we were on that one. Mike and I had taken a walk into town, and yes, they have all these little cafes. It was just cute. So we get back and we see the first ship. We don't see our ship. So we figure it's behind it. We go on the first ship, but we can't figure out how to get to the second ship because there's nobody there to direct us. We're like, okay, I don't see it. I don't see another ship. There's a ship, but that doesn't look like our ship. But they still have the flag up for AmaWaterways. So we're like, okay, they're still there. Go back down, start walking up along the river in this little park, which was this little park was so cute. And one of our favorite bartenders was coming back and we started laughing. She goes, "You look lost." It's like, we are. We can't find our ship. So she said, "Oh, come with me." We were the third ship over. So there was one ship, another ship, and then Alma was the third ship. And she was the one that was telling us how to get upstairs on the first ship to go across to the second ship, to go around to our ship, to go back down to where we're supposed to be getting into again. It's like, you'd never experienced an ocean cruise. Never. This is not what happens. It was great. It was just fun. And then that night, for entertainment was a disco party. So they had a disco party on the ship in the lounge. There was 100 people on this ship, and I bet probably 60 of us were dancing. It was so much fun. And while many of the river cruises tend to be more of the older population, is what people think. Yeah, probably we had a lot of 70, 80-year-olds, but we had a lot of 30 and 40-year-olds, and we had the best time. We had so much fun dancing and just having fun.
And that's the thing, that it's the young at heart people who are on these cruises.
Exactly. Exactly.
And your story about getting to your actual ship reminds me of a saying in Pittsburgh of "you can't get there from here." There's like all these
Pretty
little
much.
round.
Yes.
It's like, okay, you have to go around this way and then around that way and take this road to here, and the
We,
wonderful
we were
mountains
very
and
thankful
valleys
to
and
run
rivers.
into yes, we were very thankful to run into our favorite bartenders because she just got a giggle and went, "This, I'll take you back." I said, "Thank you so much."
And how about that for a job of being one of the crew on one of these ships? It's like, oh, we're in town. Okay, pretty much everyone's off the ship. I get to go into town too. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
because
seems like the
they had
life.
taken a walk. Yeah, they had taken a walk.
So that's not a nice thing about having this smaller ship, that you get to know your favorite bartender, and your favorite bartender
Oh,
kind of gets to know you.
we had that, and we had our favorite service. I mean, they were all great, but you always have your favorites, and you get to know them really well.
And then they finished off the cruise at that small town of Gay Paris.
Yep, back at Gay Parade. That's where we had my downfall, literally.
And
So
she,
we started off the ship, off the cruise with our first cruise with a really fun bike tour. The last day, they had another bike tour, and I debated back and forth. Do I go on the bike tour? Do I not? My daughter was going on. and some friends of ours we made were going on. Like, okay, I'm gonna go. And it was an 8 mile tour. That's fine. We can do that. We went to the Eiffel Tower. We got our picture taken in the road, middle of the road. Went to the, I mean, it was just great. On our about 3/4 of the way in, we're going from a bike path, which, by the way, part of our tour was in the middle of the roads. And I will just tell you that it's a challenge riding with all those people in Paris and those roads, but we did it. And we're going off the bike path to go in towards the hot air balloon that they used in the Olympics. And I went through these concrete bricks columns that were stopping cars from going in, hit it, fell overwards. And the guide in front of us, who was our local guide, kept with the group. My guide from the ship helped me up along with another lovely traveler. I thought, okay, I'm good. I'm good. I can get this. We walked it back over to where the hot air balloon was, got on the bike to run to the balloon to the Louvre. So we did. I rode by bike over to the Louvre, got back off it to walk it and couldn't walk it again. I'm like, oh, perhaps I can't walk. So it turns out they had to get a taxi to get my daughter and I back to the ship. But the taxi had to be big enough to put two bikes in the back of the taxi to get us back to the ship because the bikes belong to the ship. So the three of us had to sit up front in this little taxi. And people don't drive like I drive at home. And so we're sitting three to up front, and this sweet little taxi driver, and he was very sweet, has his phone out while he's driving, trying to show us different places we should go see while we're here in Paris. Well, the cars in front of us are stopping like this, and my daughter's going, please look, please look, please look. It was it was interesting. Got back, definitely injured my leg. I had ice on it. They were wonderful. They were great. Off to take me to the emergency room. I said, no, we're fine. I'm going home tomorrow. Took the wheelchair through the airport, got through. We ended my tour of Paris in that way. But you know what? I don't regret it, and I can say I rode a bike in Paris.
And whenever Maureen said her literal downfall, she was not misusing the word literal. So,
Exactly. But it was still fun. The other thing they did that day, we did take in spite of the fact that I fell off the bike and I had my ice on, they had us, we were able to take a actual tour boat up and around the Seine. So that's when we got to see the Notre Dame and got to see some other areas of France we couldn't see when we were on our boat. And at the very end of the night, they took us up to the Eiffel Tower when they put the lights on. And then at exactly on the hour at 11 o'clock is when they did the sparkling lights for 5 minutes. And that was absolutely amazing. We were all outside on the decks watching this and the lights sparkling. It was like the perfect ending of a perfect trip.
and I'm trying to think if on soaring around the world, whenever you go past the Eiffel Tower, no, it doesn't have, that's not the sparkling one, but they have
I
the,
don't think it does the sparkling one on
no,
that
it's
one.
not. I've seen the sparkling one though before, and they especially will do that. Well, they do it each night, but also like at the on Bastille Day, they really
Oh, I'm sure they did on
let it go.
Bastille
So if
Day.
you
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
there, um, and I've seen it on TV that oh, it's amazing.
It was so pretty. So pretty.
I can't remember if they did the sparkling lights whenever we were in Paris, but of course that was
What
before
they
we
were
had.
saying was they did it on the hour for 5 minutes from like dusk until 2 a.m. or something during the summer season, is what I was hearing. I know that they said we had to be there by because we had dinner and everything, and they had us there by 11. We would see it come on at 11, so we had 5 minutes at that point to watch it.
Yeah, we were there in like early to mid May. It was like May 10th to the 20th. So actually, it was later May that we were in Paris.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it was even then or if we were there because back then we didn't have the cell phones with cameras and everything. So
Right, right.
this was 1999, like, before even the whole Y2K thing happened. So gives you a little bit of a perspective. So since we don't have the camera, we didn't have the cameras, didn't have the video, it didn't happen.
Right, exactly. But I did, and it did happen. So,
So, Maureen, that was awesome to take the trip through France with AmaWaterways and just Maureen's experiences tell you how amazing AmaWaterways is and the things they think of and, multiple excursions each day you can choose from and the different cultural things that you get with, the food and the chef's table and the local performers and everything. That this is why AmaWaterways is the best.
And they do allow for the excursions to be at different levels too. So if you are not as able to be walking a lot, they will have an active walker excursion, then they'll have a more relaxed walker, or they'll just have the bus. So there'll be different types of levels so that they try to get everybody to be able to do something on these. And they have 2 to 3 excursions available every day. So you can maybe do one in the morning and one in the afternoon.
And yeah, it's a nice thing that there's something for everybody to enjoy.
It was very different for us as well because having been used to an ocean cruise, when you board, you go through giving your passport and checking in, and they check everything for you and they check your boarding pass and everything. We got to the cruise that morning and we walked to the luggage. They took our luggage, marked our name off, said, go ahead and go in and have a seat in the lounge if you'd like. And one of our favorite bartenders, who became one of our favorite bartenders, came us, would you like some champagne? Like, why, yes, we would. Thank you. So we sat there waiting for my son and his husband to get there. And then our luggage was still outside. They were going to take it to the room. We took off and wandered around Paris, went to the Eiffel Tower, had lunch, came back. Again, nobody asked you for any ID. It was like, this is kind of strange. And then they give you a key card that you have to swipe in and out of when you are actually in the little port. So they know you're on the ship and off the ship. But it was vastly different from a typical ocean cruise.
So there's Maureen's unofficial travel tip. Whenever you go to Paris, you just try to walk onto one of these AmaWaterways cruises and try to just blend in and walk fast, carry clipboard, pretend you know what you're doing. I'm
Pretending you
kidding.
know what
Don't
you're
do
doing.
that,
That's right.
please.
No, don't do that because they're going to find out.
So Maureen, what is your official travel tip?
Okay, so this one was I enlisted my family because since this was one of those trips that was we were blessed to have all 5 of us on this trip. Um for one thing, a river cruise is more than ports, and it's about the ports, it's about the history. Ocean cruising is more about the ship. We talked about the fact we only had 100. Um some of the things my family had said, they said read the description about the excursions and what they entail, because some of them you make sure you read them and understand them, because some of them are a little bit more involved, some of them may be not what you want to see. I wish we would have gone to see the gardens rather than the where we went on the one cruise, on the one excursion. um and my son said, make sure that you take the chef's recommendations for dinner menus, because on the dinner menus they will have a la carte and all these things, but then they have a chef's recommendations. And he was like, take that, because that was always so good to do. Even if you didn't think you'd like it, it was amazing. Um, they said, make sure you ask questions of your tour leader, because they really enjoy being able to talk about their home. These tour leaders that's their home. They're not part of the cruise ship, it's per se. They are from that area, and they love answering questions and telling you about the history and telling you about what the people are like and what they do. Um, make sure to talk to the other guests, make friends with the other guests, because we had so much fun. And to smile and have fun and appreciate the people we talked about, the ones that are on the cruise ship. That is they're there 7 days that whole time. They're amazing. Appreciate them. Say thank you. They will make your stay.
Awesome. And if you're not sold on Waterways yet, I don't know what else we can do. So with mine, so the kind of hit on with what Maureen said before is that the average age of a passenger on an AmaWaterways cruise is 61, but you don't have to have your AARP card to sail with them. Majority of passengers are a bit older, but there are also younger cruisers who are on it. So, and here's what my brother-in-law and sister experienced whenever they did Viking, which has a similar demographic, is that be prepared to be pampered. That it's
Oh
catering,
yes.
the average age is a bit higher, so they cater to that demographic. So they're going to carry your luggage for you delivered to your room. They're going to make sure that it's as easy as possible for you. So be careful about sailing with AmaWaterways because it could ruin you for life. You get used to being spoiled like this, like, oh yeah, I could get used to this and I could get used to that, and it's luxurious. I think that's the way to describe it.
You are well taken care of. AMA also does have kids on board, so they can sail anywhere from 4 on up. It depends on the itinerary as to which what the age is. They recommend it for for kids 7 and over, and there are some that have to be 12. I believe the Vietnam and a couple other ones have to be 12 to be on the ship, but they do have children. Viking is only 18 and over. So there's a difference as far as that goes. Our age range was wide. I mean, we had young 30s to probably 80s. I mean, it was a big wide age group, and everybody got along. Everybody had fun. Everybody they participated. It was great.
And that's the thing that kids are allowed on them, with the somewhat restrictions, but it's not catering to the kids. That they don't have the game room, they don't have
Right.
this, they don't have the movies for them. So if your kid is a little bit mature one who can handle, or like if Maureen said, multi-generational families, they're traveling together with grandma, whatever. There's enough for the kid to be entertained, and you think the kid could handle that. By all means, bring the kids with you, because having that type of a cultural and travel experience at that age. I mean, I know that our little girl is soon to be 6, and she's been around the world literally.
Hmm.
And it's kind of funny with her that whenever she's talking to some people, it's like, oh yeah, when we saw my aunt and my cousins in Indonesia, and then she's starting to learn some of the language, and she'll start trying to talk Indonesian to people here. It's like, what do you mean you don't understand it? I know how to talk in that, and
That's right.
now it's little words and phrases of what's your name, how old are you, do you have a cat type thing. That's her main focus. But I mean, having those experiences for kids, it can leave such an impression on them.
Oh, absolutely. And it
And
was
just
interesting. The other thing too with AMA, at least, I'm always very interested in see how they handle food allergies, and there are certain cruise lines that handle them better than others. AmaWaterways was amazing because my daughter has a seafood allergy, and of course, there's a lot of seafood stuff on the ship, and there was a lot of seafood on the chef's table, and they made her special dishes in that 5-course dinner that were specially for her without any seafood. So she was able to enjoy it this 5-course meal with her own little touches that she could do.
and just a couple of the other notes that you had written down here, just to make sure we get across, is the staff you said was awesome,
Amazing.
and then just Maureen just talked about the food and small ships, and it's local food that they're bringing on each day. There's not big freezers that they have all this stocked up, and on
Right.
a
And we actually watched them the one day. They had the entire staff lined up across the walkway and another ship, including the captain, and they're passing supplies over because they had to get their food supply that day. And we're watching them passing these things up. So yes, every port they bring in fresh things. So you're getting your fresh food and local food for whatever you're eating. And then the entertainment, we did the same thing. They bring the entertainment in from those local areas. They're not on the ship the whole time.
And that's the other thing with the food, is that since it's not a giant cruise ship with thousands of people, they have the time to bring fresh food on every day. They don't have to have it stocked already before. So it gives you a little bit of variety. And, the with like the chef's table stuff, the chef will go there. I don't know if it's here, if there's um, some excursions when you can go to the market with the chef,
Oh, that'd be fun.
and they'll
But
pick out what you're going to have at the chef's table that evening, type thing. That it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be eating that tonight, and
when
they can explain how they're
it's
going to cook it and everything.
it's fun too, is that there's not this lineup getting in the dining room. It's a small dining room. There's not assigned tables. You go to sit where you're going to sit. Sometimes you may sit one side, there's not the other side, and there's no people waiting to get in. You go in when dinner starts at 6. You go in, you eat. There's a sip and sail cocktail hour before that, so you sit there first and have some munchies and some cocktails and some entertainment. There's usually a piano player or guitar player, and then you go to your meal. It was just a totally different experience.
And then you said about you have also written here about the options for breakfast too.
Oh yeah, because you can either do, excuse me, up in the lounge. They had more of a continental breakfast, but they had some hot things too. But then you could do downstairs where they have the sit down, and you can order an omelet, or they have every day they have a little bit different menu items going around that you can actually order from the kitchen. So it's if you're not, if you don't want to get up there in the morning first thing and go and sit down, you can go get your own. And they always have a coffee machine with coffee and hot chocolate and hot water for tea and juices and cookies up on the lounge all the time.
You had made cookies, okay?
Absolutely. Well, I had me a coffee, so there's a coffee machine up there with, a cappuccino and mochas and espressos and the regular coffees, whatever you want, it's there.
Okay, you sold me on it. Now,
Sounds good.
if you have a destination or experience that you'd like to have us discuss on the Where Yinz Goin podcast, or if you'd like to share your favorite destination or have a travel tip, feel free to contact me. I'd love to hear your feedback and ideas. Maureen, how can people get a hold of you?
My email is Maureen@dreamsbydesigntravel.com, and social media, my Facebook is Dreams by Design Travel with Maureen.
Here at the podcast, we're on Facebook and X at Where Yinz Goin. Yinz, Yinz, Goin, Goin with the apostrophe. Make sure I spell that correctly. Now, all this information is going to be in the episode description. So if you want to contact us to book a trip or have any questions, you know how to find us. And you can get the correct spellings there too, rather than me trying to say it. Please like, follow, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend. If you like what you heard, let others know about it so we can spread the joy and the fun, especially when you have a trip so amazing as what Maureen just had on AmaWaterways.
And if we didn't mention it, this is the gift that the women got on AmaWaterways. It's a silk scarf, and it's the gentleman got a ball cap. I think that the scarf is even prettier, and it's Van Gogh's Almond Blossom is what's on here.
And it's a gorgeous, like aquamarine color. It has, is that like a black edging on it? It's a darker
It's
color on
kind of
the
a
edging.
darker color blue.
Yeah, it's
There you
very,
go.
very pretty.
It's
Those
lovely.
watching on the simulcast. So, Maureen's going to come back. We're going to talk about just general travel tips for traveling abroad as well. So, look for that in the future. But for everyone else, please join us next time. We're Hanat Nat. We'll see you later.
Bye.